Now, the Islamist militant group Boko Haram has released a new video in which it said its fighters killed 78 farmers in northeast Nigeria. On Saturday, armed men on motorcycles led a brutal attack on farmers harvesting in rice fields. At least 43 bodies of the victims were recovered and buried on Sunday, but the official death toll of farmers and agricultural workers stands at 110. It is one of Borno State's deadliest attacks in years. The region has been grappling an insurgency for more than a decade that has left tens of thousands of people dead. Boko Haram wants to govern Nigerians with an extreme version of Islam. There is growing outrage across Nigeria over the killings, and there have been calls for security chiefs to lose their jobs. To discuss the worsening situation, we're joined by our correspondent in Abuja in Nigeria, Phil Ihaza. Phil, just tell us how Nigeria is responding to this incredible horror attack on Saturday.
Well, thank you, Francis. It's been indeed a very gloomy week for Nigeria. Lots of Nigerians have been reacting to the horror that occurred at the weekend in the country's northeast, Borno State to be precise, where a community of rice farmers were attacked by insurgents. And as we speak, you know, there's been a reaction by the Boko Haram insurgents, a video released by the insurgents claiming responsibility for this attack. It was not a surprise because before now, that attack had the semblance, of course, of the insurgents in that area. Also, we've seen a lot of reactions, even from lawmakers at the upper chambers and even the lower chambers. They've asked for the president to respond, or they've actually summoned the president to the National Assembly to explain the state of insecurity in the country. They've also, asked for the service chiefs to be fired because they've stayed there for a long time and it doesn't seem like the security situation is improving. So these are the reactions so far to the killings, but we also know that the death toll is still, for official figures released, is 43. Initially at the weekend, the United Nations representatives or resident coordinator Edward Kalon had said it was over 100, about 110. But he has just recently come back to rebuff that claim and say that indeed it was not sourced properly and that the death toll is not confirmed.
All right, so we're still actually unclear on the figure. Phil, give us some of the background here. There are international reports suggesting that farmers in this area in Borno State were fed up with Boko Haram. They were trying to fight back in various ways, and that escalated towards this. Do we know any more details?
Well, thank you. What we know so far is that, the community, farmers there, residents there, they have been trying to assist security operatives, the military, in providing intelligence information about the whereabouts of these insurgents before now. And that must have angered the insurgents. In fact, in the video that was released just recently on social media by the insurgents claiming responsibility for the attack, their leader, Abubakar Shekau, also alleged that it was in retaliation, for the residents or farmers reporting or giving out information about the whereabouts of the insurgents. So it's clear now that indeed, when security agencies go to those communities to try to find out where where the hideouts of the insurgents are, it might actually pose a more threat to the communities, especially when the presence of security operatives is not always at its highest state. The area is actually a massive place, so it's sometimes not fully governed by security agencies, and so once there's a loophole, you might see this kind of attack occur in those regions.
Is Boko Haram asserting itself again in light of the claims of the Nigerian government that they had, in a sense, been dealt with, been put down and dealt with in Nigeria?
Well, you see, it's a bit worrying because this war has gone on for over 10 years now, barely 11 years. And, you know, the government has repeatedly maintained or claimed that the Boko Haram sect has been decimated. In fact, insurgency in the northeast has been the war against insurgency have been won. And but we've seen pockets of attacks before now. This actually is the deadliest attack on direct attack on civilians and citizens in the northeast so far this year, and it tells you that indeed it's beyond just you know, defeating the insurgents when they're together. They're scattered and they're still very deadly. They can regroup and they can come back. So at the moment, they're not holding a particular territory as the government is claiming. But as long as we're seeing this attack, critics have said that, look, the war is not over until lives and properties are safeguarded, until people can be reintegrated back into the society, and until the Northeast entirely can be rid of terrorism.
Yeah. Finally, Phil, you said that the numbers are still being tallied here, the numbers of the dead. We just saw pictures of those body bags, so many. These are individuals. How will Nigeria sort of be mourning the loss of life? Are funerals planned, mass funerals? What's going to happen?
So that's the thing in the northeast, or in northern Nigeria, which is mostly occupied by the Muslims. When people die in those areas, they bury them almost immediately. So yes, indeed, that mass burial has already occurred at the weekend. Locals are insisting that the number of farmers at that location when the attack occurred were way more than 70, and they've not found lots of them. Whether they're missing, whether they've been kidnapped, that information is not clear. But according to the security operatives, they've insisted that the numbers, the death toll is 43. Locals have insisted it's more. Initially, the UN came to say it was more. We're not sure exactly why it had to retract that statement. A lot of other locals have said that it's either many of them were kidnapped or they were killed and their bodies have not been found. So what we know is that indeed those the death toll is way more than 40, and they've been buried so far. Some others are still receiving treatment. Some of them that made it alive out of that terrible attack on the farmers.
All right, and thank you. Please follow the situation for us. That was the SABC correspondent in Abuja in Nigeria, Phil Ihaza.